Welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We're here to raise your confidence and inspire your creativity. Each episode, we will have a different guest who will be discussing our Raise word. The Raise word is a word that will encourage you or empower you and at times inspire you to explore the word a little more for yourself. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Raise podcast. And we have a very special podcast. This is our Raise mini podcast. Over the summer, we're going to be talking to a few very important younger members of Raise. And today we're going to be talking to Aurora Harris. And Aurora is going to be talking about the word try. Now, before I introduce her, Aurora has been involved in so many different amazing things, and she's only 7. Good morning, Aurora. How are you doing this morning?
Amazing.
Amazing. Now that is a good start. That is, there's not much further you can go up from amazing, is there really, Aurora?
No.
Brilliant. Okay. So, Aurora, your word for today is try. So before we try and unpack all that word means, what does the word try mean to you?
So the word try means to me, so if you want to do something and you just think you can't do it, you've got to try it to see if you can do it. Because if you don't try, you might not be able to do it, and you might never be able to do it. But if you try it, you might love it.
Brilliant. I often say that to my little boy when he says, no, I don't want that food. And I say, just try it. You never know. Has there been a food that you've ever had, Aurora, where you've tried it and you've thought, yep, I'm really glad that I tried that out?
I think probably kiwi.
Kiwi. It's an interesting taste, isn't it? It's quite tangy, isn't it?
Yeah, we were doing a tasting at my school when I was in year 1, and we had to guess the fruit, and I tasted kiwi. Someone in my class couldn't have it though, so we had to be careful.
Oh yeah.
So I tried it and I was like, ew. But then I got used to the taste and I liked it.
Brilliant. So when you try something, is it always going to work out really well, do you think?
No.
Okay. Can you tell me a time when you tried something and it maybe didn't work out quite so well?
So I once tried peppers in bolognese, and I thought I tried peppers, tried them in it, and I didn't like it. I hated it.
And then it spoils the taste, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. So, Aurora, you have tried out for so many different things, and you do a lot of acting and a lot of singing and a lot of dancing. I think you're what's called a triple threat. Have you been told that?
No.
A triple threat is someone that sings and dances and acts. But I think you're a quadruple threat because you're also a brilliant person. So there you go. Quadruple threat you are. Tell us all about your singing and your dancing and your acting.
So I've been in 3 different shows. I've been in 3 films, 3 short films, and 3 episode series.
Brilliant. Okay. And did you just kind of walk onto the set and say, here I am, I'm Aurora Harris, take me, I'm brilliant? Or did you have to try a little bit to get the parts?
I had to try a little bit to get the parts, because when I was doing one of my films, I was also doing another short film at the same time. So I was auditioning for a film and I was like, I don't want to do it. But I tried it, I got the part and I loved it.
Wow. So you're doing 2 different things at the same time?
Yeah.
That is why you're a quadruple threat, Aurora. That's amazing. Most adults would be like, no. One thing at a time, please. We can only deal with one thing at a time. And tell me a little bit about how you try out for things. So do you audition for things?
Yeah, I auditioned, and I was going to audition for, like I said at the beginning, I was going to audition for something, but I knew I wasn't going to get it, but I auditioned for it, gave it a try, because someone who I'd done another show with asked me to audition, so I auditioned. I didn't get in, but I knew I wasn't, and I just gave it a try. I liked the audition, but I thought it was going to be better to go and try it than not go and try it, because if I didn't go and try it, like I might get cast in another one of their shows.
So that's quite grown up thinking, because that's what's called forward thinking. So you were thinking, I might not get this one, but if I show that I'm willing to try, they might cast me for something else. That's incredibly grown up thinking. I really like that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you audition? Because Aurora, I've never done an audition before. I didn't have to audition for the podcast because it's mine. That's why it's very useful. But how do you audition? What do you have to do?
So my agency sends me some tapes through from people. So sometimes my agency asks if I can have this tape, and sometimes I say no, I don't want to do it. But then sometimes people who cast it specifically ask me, and I don't want to do it. But as I said, I try it and I love it.
Brilliant. So do you have to do some speaking? Do you have to do some singing, or does it depend on what the role is?
It depends on what the role is, because I'm in 2 other shows right now, and when I auditioned, I had to sing for them both, because they're basically kind of a singing musical.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, and sometimes they have to. So in musicals, you usually get a script so you can have a look look at your lines and have a look over them and make sure you know them.
Have you ever had a time where you've had to try for a different part? So maybe they've said, we want you to try for Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And then they've said, actually, Aurora, could you try out for a Munchkin instead? Has that ever happened?
So yeah, my dance teacher once said I should go up and try for Dorothy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go up and try for Dorothy, but I gave it a try and I actually loved the audition. And I've been singing the audition song ever since.
Brilliant.
And I was also Mr. Poppy's best friend in one of my shows.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that because I had to cry in it and I loved it.
So Mr. Poppy, is he the crazy primary school teacher?
Yes.
In the Christmas show, and you had to be his best friend. Why did you have to cry?
Because he was going to leave the school. He was fired because he took no, he said Hollywood are coming.
Because he lied, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was kind of Mr. Madden's fault as well.
No, dear, naughty teachers. So when you had to cry, did you just cry straight away, or did you have to try hard to make yourself cry?
I had to try hard to cry because for my first scene, before I went into that little bit, I had to try to cry, and then when I went into my scene with Mr. Poppy, I was already crying, so I didn't need to make myself cry.
Oh, well done. Because I think I've heard that some actors, they laugh instead of crying. That's what they try and do, because when you laugh, you look a bit like you're crying. Have you ever tried that one before?
No.
That might be one to try. When you get off the podcast episode, you can sit there with Mum and laugh and see if it looks like crying. It's just something I've heard. As I said, I'm not in the world of performance really at all, so this is all very exciting for me. So we talked a little bit about your plays and your auditions. How does it feel when you're actually on the stage or on a film set? What kind of things do you have to try to do there?
So sometimes if you're doing a show, I was playing one of the main roles, so I had to be really, really quiet because I was on the side of stage for most of the time. So I was like, because I had to be really quiet and I had loads on my mind. And I had to try to stay focused. And I managed to do it, and it was quite fun.
I love that, because that is something that I find really difficult. I mean, even this morning, I said to my son, you're not to be upstairs, you're not to rattle around, you're not to make lots of noise because we're recording. It's one of the hardest things to do, isn't it? To try and be quiet. So what did you do?
So I only had 3 costumes. So my first costume, I was in most of it for the show.
Yeah.
So I was like at the side of stage in that costume for most of the time. But I also had a hat to make sure. So I had to take it off, but it was stuck around my mic for one of the shows. So we had to pull it off, get round to get to one of the props that I needed to get for one of the scenes.
Oh no! And are you literally standing in the wings for the whole of the time you're not on, or is there like a dressing room or something that you go
There's a dressing room, but like I usually only went in there when I was getting changed and for the interval.
Brilliant. Okay. And when you're in a show or a series and you don't know people, how do you get on with the other people in the cast?
So it's so I was in a show and it was called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And it was quite hard to make friends because there was hardly anyone in it that I knew.
Yeah.
And I made some friends, and now I'm in another show with one of my friends. And it's kind of a bit nicer that I know them and have friends with them, because I wouldn't have had any friends in the other show that I'm in as well. And now I've made friends with them. I'm going to be in 3 shows with them now.
Brilliant. So what do you think would have happened if you hadn't tried to make friends and you'd kind of just said, no, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm just doing this all by myself?
I would be really lonely and I'd be really sad and I wouldn't have anyone to be with.
So you've made some real, the word opportunities. You've got some real opportunities, haven't you? Chances to have more friends and then be in more shows as well. That's a really grown-up thing. Really grown up.
Sometimes I have to like watch and learn. So I always like getting things first time perfect.
Yeah.
So I was once trying to do a front walkover, and I thought it was a handstand into crab and just come up from it.
Yeah.
But it turned out that it was, so you go into a handstand, you put one foot on the floor and you literally just have to stand up with one foot. And it's really hard. And I got really angry at myself because I wasn't doing it first time. So I needed help. So I watched a few video clips. My brother gave me some advice and I did it.
Brilliant. So, but why didn't you just get angry and say, oh, well, I can't do a front walkover, I'm never doing a front walkover, and stomp off in a huff? Why didn't you do that?
Because one of our school values is resilience, and I knew that I needed to carry on and be resilient.
So,
yeah,
go on, sorry.
And make sure that I carried on and didn't stop straight away.
Brilliant. So do you think that resilience is about trying and trying and trying then?
Yeah.
That is such a good word for your school to want you to learn, isn't it? That is super.
I think it also lets us build our confidence and stuff like that. It does resilience, because if you try and try and try, it kind of builds your confidence up and up and up.
Because how do you feel now you can do a front walkover?
I feel so much happier that I tried and tried and tried. And then the next day, I did it first time and I didn't even wobble when I stood up.
Brilliant. And how would you feel if you saw some of your friends that have been in the shows with you all doing front walkovers and you just given up and you couldn't do it still?
I'd be quite upset.
How brilliant is Aurora? If you want to try something a little bit different, then why don't you start listening to the podcast right from the beginning? We're nearly up to 50 episodes and we're very excited. Please share them with your friends and family, and also be on the lookout for people that might have podcasts themselves or small businesses, as we write jingles, and we'd love to do that for you too. Back to the episode. So Aurora, we've talked a bit about you being on stage and in some films, What other areas of your life or school do you have to try?
So I've been playing football at my after school club because one of my best friends were like doing it, and I was like, my best friend's doing it, my best friend's doing it. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? And my mum was like, well, you never played football, so you shouldn't do it. And I was like, but I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it because my best friend's going. So I went. I had a try, and now I've joined an actual football team, and I'm playing. I'm going to play tournament next week.
That's brilliant. What position do you play in football?
Right, anywhere.
Anywhere.
My favourite position's right wing.
Brilliant. I'm talking to you like I know about football. I don't know about football. So anywhere was a great answer for me. Actually, I think as we're speaking, the Lionesses are playing this morning in the semi-finals. So go Lionesses. You never know. One day you might be joining the Lionesses if you're not on stage or in the West End or in Hollywood with, maybe not with Mr. Poppy. Don't take Mr. If you go to Hollywood, Aurora, don't take Mr. Poppy, will you?
No.
I don't think he'd be a good person to take. What about in your family? Is there any time where you have to try really hard when you're in your family, as part of your family?
Yeah, with my brother, he sometimes doesn't listen to me, so I have to try and try and try and try and try and try for him to listen, and then he listens.
Brilliant. And do you think, now mum's sitting next to you and she's being ever so good and quiet, do you think mum ever has to try and try and try and try with you, Aurora?
Yes, because yesterday we carried on arguing, we didn't stop, and she had to get and we only listen when she gets angry, usually.
Poor mum. It can be hard work being a mum, but the main thing is that you listen eventually. Tell me about how other people, how you've seen other people try, maybe when you're on your film sets or your series sets. Has there been somebody that's kind of made you think, oh, they're trying really hard, I'm going to do that too?
I think probably, so there was a baby once on set, and I think they had to try very, very hard because they had someone who was a stranger to them had to hold them. And also a cat had to try very, very hard because it was in a woolly coat on a really hot day and I had to hold it.
A cat in a woolly coat? Oh, and I bet it did have to try, it didn't probably. The thing is that it couldn't really say much, could it? Poor pussycat. No. How did you help it to try not to be so warm? I didn't expect that answer.
So his owner's always talking inside after he'd done a take to make sure he was cooler.
Yeah, I'm sure they looked after, and I'm sure they looked after the baby as well. But that's the thing, isn't it, about film sets and series and things like that? Sometimes things happen and you have to try extra hard because that's what they want to see on screen.
So I've been doing loads of Christmas specials, but it's been quite hard because it's been in summer that I've been doing them.
Oh no. So have you had to be wrapped up really warm with scarves and hats and...
Yeah, and then someone on the set gave me a fan, so every time I went off set I literally just put the fan on and just stood really close to it. And I have a friend who's had to try very, very hard because they are, like, I think probably quite famous.
Yeah.
Because they've been in loads of films and they've been mostly one of the main characters. And I did a series with them, and they played the main character's daughter.
Right.
And we're also friends because we both have the same agency.
Okay.
Yeah, and she had to work very, 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 very hard to get that far.
Wow. So how do you encourage her Because I bet she doesn't find it easy all the time, does she? Just because she's doing really, really well, that doesn't mean you find it easy, does it?
No, but she also has to like miss loads of her friends at school because she's probably doing like films when she's supposed to be at school.
Wow, that sounds hard. So let's go back to the cat in the winter outfit and the baby and your friend not having other friends, maybe. That's a bit difficult because that means that they're a bit out of their comfort zone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So how do you think that you can help people when they're out of their comfort zone?
You can like you can support them and congratulate them.
Yeah. You were saying you were saying earlier on about your front walkover, and you were saying that your little brother helped you. And I have a little phrase which is, don't say I can't, say I can with help. And I think that's one of the things that you did with your front walkover, didn't you? You didn't just say, right, I'm not doing it. You said, okay, I need some help. I'm going to go on. What did you do? You went on YouTube?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we watched two girls do it.
Yeah.
I watched them do it in slow motion as well, so I could see how they did it.
Yeah.
And then I tried and I didn't get it, and I tried and tried and tried, didn't get it. Then my brother helped. He gave me some advice how fast to run, and then I did it, and then I did my front walkover, and my mum saw, so she was videoing me. She saw on the video that that I was like cheering really, really like loud when I did it.
Brilliant. So is your brother a Great British Gymnastic champion?
No, he's only
So
4.
why do you think he wanted to help you do a front walkover?
Because I'm his sister and he loves me the most out of our family.
Isn't that a lovely, lovely reason to want someone to try? Isn't that brilliant? Because I think I'm right in thinking that your brother's is younger than you as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 4.
And yet he really wanted you to do well. So have you ever had a situation where you've really, really wanted to help somebody else to try and do something well?
Yeah, so when I was talking about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and someone who was in it, who was also one of the main roles, he was struggling with the lines, so we ran it and ran it and ran it together because we were in the same team, and we just practiced and practiced and practiced and tried and tried and tried, and then we got that scene perfect and we never needed to try again, like to do that scene because it was already really good because we tried and tried and tried.
But wasn't it really boring going over and over and over the lines? Didn't you just think, oh, this is boring, I'm not going to do this?
Yeah, it was boring, but it would have been even more boring just sitting in the rehearsal room, sitting still, doing nothing.
Brilliant. What a brilliant answer. So I think determination comes into trying as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think you're really determined. This has been a really fantastic conversation, Aurora, and we're nearly at the end, but we've got 2 more things to do. The first thing is we always put a little challenge out to our listeners. So I want the people listening today to try either something new or something that you've done before, but you've decided you can't do it. Aurora, do you want to add anything to that or throw out a different challenge or idea?
Maybe try and comfort people if they're out of their comfort zone.
Love it. Brilliant. People listening, Aurora is 7, and I think you'll agree that she's taught us an awful lot this morning. And I, for one, shall be going and trying all the things that I've said that I'm not going to bother to try and do anymore. Aurora, you've been fantastic. Now, we get to the part of the show where I try to do a little poem. So just give me a minute while I have a little think. Okay. You need to try. You might not want to cry when Mr. Poppy's sad, but it might not be So bad. Now, don't take him to Hollywood. I'm not saying that you should, but you should go over and over lines, and you should encourage friends, and you should try just one more time to do that backwards bend or forward walkover. I was listening. And with your eyes excited and glistening, whether you're on set or on stage or at home, when you try really hard, you won't be alone. So take heart, be resilient, like Aurora, be brilliant. There you go. Was that okay?
Yeah.
Super. Aurora, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Mum, for your time too. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you in the future, seeing all the amazing things that you're doing. Podcast listeners, enjoy this episode. Please share with your friends, and we'll be back soon. Thanks, Aurora.
Bye.